Some of us sometimes go through things in life where we have to rebuild and learn how to walk again. Well, Jack came into a time in my life when I had to rebuild and learn how to walk again. I met him in 2017, and Jack struck me as being very different. He was different than the rest of the guys because he actually listened to me when I spoke about my feelings. He's a good catch. Jack seemed to be quite peculiar looking. He was on the pale side, very skinny, and had a rather frail build. And because of that, he always wore the same plain outfit. White t-shirt, white pants, and strikingly red shoes. And everybody looked at us as we walked down the street. And so because of that, I never wanted to associate with him. I avoided him, and I kept rejecting him, even though he was stuck so faithfully by my side. You see, when Jack came into my life, something happened. It's as if I went from Maryam to Deb. Thank you. Blind Maryam. Yes, Jack is not a real person. Jack is my white cane. Now the dramatic story comes. When I was 21 years old, as I sat at a clinic in Montreal on a chilly October day, the room was so silent, I could hear the clock ticking, one tick at a time, as I awaited the doctor. And when I received the news, Miss Maryam, you're going blind. It felt as though in just a few ticks, my life had entirely changed, and the whole trajectory of my life had taken another turn. And the doctor continued by saying that things like walking alone at night or even finding a boyfriend would become too difficult. And as he kept talking, I zoned out. And I remembered and I played back the walk from to the clinic that day. I remember it was a fall day. And as I walked under the radiating sun, I appreciated the perfect breeze that was just the right amount of cool and that occasionally moved the leaves around that were crunching under my feet as I strutted down the street with my head up high and my coffee, not knowing what was awaiting me. And then I snapped back to reality. And I asked myself right there at that clinic, will I ever be able to live and experience such a beautiful and spectacular scenery ever again? And just a couple of months later, I found myself unable to differentiate trees from leaves, unable to differentiate streets from sidewalks, and I even bumped into everything and everyone and kept my head down as I walked. And one day, I was introduced to and referred by a friend to a vision rehabilitation center in Montreal, where I essentially had to learn how to do stuff all over again and rebuild many parts of my life, including taking lessons with a mobility specialist. She was helping me learn how to walk again with this cane, this very dreaded cane. Jack. I think you know a lot about him now. So I started taking lessons, and I remember not wanting to go out with it in public. I was so afraid and ashamed, and I didn't want to be labeled disabled by others. I didn't want to lose my identity. One day, I was invited to a networking event by a really good friend of mine. And upon speaking to my mobility specialist about it, her name was Jessica. I said, Jessica, I really don't feel like going to that event with my cane. And she was a petite, soft-spoken lady, and she said, with an encouraging yet kind voice, Maryam, get out there exactly as you are, because that cane does not take away who you are. And so I took her advice because I trusted her. But I like to dress up and look good and a little extra sometimes. So I took her advice very seriously. I put on my 6-inch heels and my fur shawl and the cane, of course, and I showed up. Well, when I got there, I stood quietly and I started to feel so awkward. I felt so uncomfortable and self-conscious. And I didn't even know what to do with this cane. Like, what do I do with this thing? Do I just stand straight with it like a Buckingham Palace soldier? Or do I kind of put it on the side so it's not in the way? Or maybe something a little more casual, like lean on it while I wait for someone? Or, oh, how about I fold it, and just tuck it in like this, maybe no one is gonna see it. Or maybe make a different use out of it, like, hey, my name's Maryam, so what do you do? Well, that clearly won't work. And as I was having fun with my cane, the room filled up with people, and the speaker of that evening eagerly walked up to me and immediately put his hand on the side of my arm. And he said, hey, I'm so happy that you're here. So I look around, and I thought, is he talking to me? Does he think I'm someone else, maybe? Oh, wait, no, I'm the blind one here. Me? And he said, yes, actually, I'm about to speak about a very dear friend of mine, and I'm really relieved that you're here because she also has a white cane just like you, and you really remind me of her. And so as he moved away, other people started to come up to me. The first woman said she liked my shawl. The second man offered me to try his glasses on in case it helped. Yeah. No. One person asked me, hey, do you have superpowers like Daredevil? Oh, this one is really good. Oh, that's the weirdest guy of all. After a 5-minute conversation about traveling, he invited me to go on a trip with him. Guess he was into blind girls. And the last person asked me and suggested that, hey, maybe you should get on the show Love is Blind. That one, I actually laughed at that one. I thought it was funny. I thought it could be really interesting. Good setup. I have an excuse at least. And soon enough, I was left with a whole bunch of business cards that I couldn't even read. But I soon enough saw a whole different side of Jack. It was a magical moment where his presence went from a hindrance to a facilitator of conversations, of connections, and of compassion. And ever since that day, Jack and I have never left each other out of sight. We are tied by the hands, and we go everywhere together. We've traveled together, we've explored new places, we've spoken at different venues. Usually they go really well. and we've made heartwarming connections. But ever since I walk around with Jack, my life has changed. I never need to wait in line anymore. I mean, we don't need to wait in line anymore. People open doors for me, us. He always gets me the best seat in the house. And people jump out of my way, and he clears the path for me. And I have accepted him into my life. And he is now my new partner in crime, who doesn't complete me, but rather complements me. Who needs a boyfriend? And speaking of boyfriend, I changed my Facebook status from it's complicated to it's mutually beneficial. But most importantly, I realized something. Jack, the cane, is not who I am, and I am not my white cane. I still remain Maryam, just a Maryam version 2.0, who is now ready to walk and sweep through life and experience the magic in every moment alongside a very special friend. Thank you.